the bits where I think the men's rights activists have make a good point. They are right. Basically, they are completely right in that there is a very stupid version of feminism, which is really quite popular. So the version of feminism that says that like women are disadvantaged always and everywhere, that the cause of this is this kind of vague, I don't know, patriarchy like society, this almost this kind of dark matter that you can't see, you can't touch, but it's there and it's making women's lives worse in lots of ways. And that this is clearly not true always and everywhere, and things like, yes, the fact that men die more in workplace accidents than women do, that men do more dangerous and difficult jobs than women do, all of that stuff is true. I guess where I diverge is on the idea that this is like that it's all about score settling. It seems as if in some ways men's rights activism ends up just being the mirror of the stupid kind of feminism. Where it's just like it's just like a tally of no, here's the way in which your sex sucks and my sex is great, like in its worst iteration. Whereas I guess my position now over time is more that men and, as you were saying, that this stuff is all downstream of biology and it's been honed over millennia, and that men and women have complementary roles, and that we need each other, and that sometimes our natural differences are in tension with one another and sometimes they're not. But yeah, I wonder how you feel about men's rights. I mean, eight years on, how's your view evolved?
I hear that. I think that was probably what I said in many of my video diaries while making the red pill was I feel like what they're critiquing feminism over, aren't they just doing the same thing and reversing the sex? I when I would bring up that argument to them, they would say, yes, well, we're just trying to be the counter position to add balance to the conversation. And where I kind of landed, even now, so many years later, I'd rather like to walk my life being the balance rather than trying to be the counterbalance to something. Just to live your life like the world that you want to live in. Isn't that some good quote? Like, what is that quote? I can't remember. But like, yeah, just be the person or you want to see in the world or something like that. Anyways, I think a lot of gender tension, even when it comes to something, well, it's not as simple, but something as simple as marriages. Not simple, but I think a lot of gender tension comes down to a really self-defeating practice that a lot of us engage in, and I definitely engage in, which is comparison. Comparing, this is what I'm going through, and this is so hard, and you don't have to deal with this. I think so much of gender or relationship conflicts come from that, as well as just kind of a victimhood mentality that you can walk through the world with, that, well, I'm experiencing that or this hard thing because of my age, or because of the way I look, or because of my lack of education, or how much money I have, or my skin color, or my hair color, or whatever. I think there's another quote that's something like, comparison is the root of all unhappiness. And I don't know if that's true, but it feels true. When you start doing tit for tat about housework and childcare with your husband, it's never going to be equal. You cannot, first of all, there's subjective differences of opinion about the value of one job over the other. Well, what is the value of doing laundry over taking out the trash? And there's no way you could ever make it mathematically equal that you're both contributing to the care of these children. But it's such an easy thing for our culture to latch onto as an example of, here's how men have it easier, here's how women are held down. And I think there was a documentary came out semi-recently called Fair Play, all about how women take up the majority of childcare and home care. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I absolutely know the feeling of, like, no one understands how hard it is to go through what you're going through. I mean, from the sleep deprivation to, your body is not yours, especially postpartum, whether you had a C-section or a vaginal delivery, you are, recovering from a major physical event while having to care for this new human in the world that cannot do anything for themselves. And you're giving every last ounce of your energy. And for much of it, no one else can do it if you're nursing or breastfeeding. It's There's just no way to compare that to what guys are going through. So I think that's a large part of why the tension between feminism and men's rights activists, or people in different colored pills along the way, purple pill, black pill, whatever else. Um, I think it's never going to be an apples to apples. And, I would rather see people who attempt to understand or hear out an alternate perspective, and because it's not like we live in this vacuum that there are no men in your life. There may be no men's rights activists in your life, but you have men in your life that may feel the way that men's rights activists are trying to speak up for. And perhaps if you listen to their perspective, you could have more sympathy or compassion for the men in your life, and they would never have to, you know, then go through that process of trying to unpack their emotions and relay it to you, and potentially risk having you less attracted to them because now they're coming off whiny or whatever kind of negative opinion you would have about them sharing their emotions. I just do think it's great to hear from all different perspectives, and not be a keeping score chart, but just let's try to understand each other, because we all have different life experiences, not even groups, but just individuals. And it has made me more understanding of the men in my life and what they go through, what they've sacrificed. Um, that yeah. And I hear it and I understand it, that I also think women, or I think men do need to try to understand what, for instance, a mom is going through, a stay-at-home mom. That I think that's a large part of the second wave feminism, and the frustration over women's role being relegated to just being a child caretaker, or bearing children, and wanting to feel more and have respect. And I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but we just want to be seen for our struggles, without having to also be the whistleblower about it all the time. Just be seen like, hey, I kept the kids alive when you got home. Isn't that amazing? You don't have to know everything I did while you were gone, but isn't it amazing they're still alive? Yeah, we're all going through so much hardship in different seasons, not all the time, but in different seasons of our lives. And when we start comparing, it's really dangerous, and it's not good for your own health. I mean, ultimately, it's not good for your own health, so you should just try not to do that. It's also not good for others, but it it can lead to a lot of resentment and anger, and I think the activist movements are founded on that.